This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
This week's episode of Two Bad Hombres is sponsored by DC Sports, based at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. And Detroit City Sports is your source for authentic sports memorabilia. And that's why you should check them out for all of your sports memorabilia needs and for great autograph signing sessions, such as two of them coming up at Lakeside Mall in the month of June. And that is the Chase Winovich signing on June 15th, followed by the Lou Whitaker signing on June 30th. And to find out more info about those respective signings, please follow DC Sports on Twitter at DC Sports Detroit and check out DC Sports' terrific website at DetroitCitySports.com.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up. Head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs.
And I am still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Churko, alongside nobody. Recording this edition of Two Bad Hombres remotely from the Delta Resort. That is my place of residence. Now, John Macron is out for this week. We'll be back next weekend, more than likely, to discuss the latest and freshest topics all around sports and throughout pop culture as well. And to start off this week, I have to get into the Michigan basketball hiring of Juwan Howard, a Fab Five member who really started making a legacy for himself in the basketball world by being a member of that Fab Five that went to 2 national title games. Did not win one, but still the Fab Five is remembered and will be remembered for eternity because of the impact it had on hoops with its style and flair for the baggy shorts and just the way in which the Fab Five played, and thus once again made an impact on the game of college hoops, but also all of hoops for eternity. And now Juwan Howard returns to his alma mater, as he did graduate, by the way. He did officially graduate from U of M in 1995, and he did so while being a rookie in the NBA with the Washington Bullets. He said being hired by the University of Michigan is the second biggest accomplishment in his life, number 1 being getting a degree from U of M. And he took classes by correspondence, as it's referred to as, during his rookie year in the NBA to keep a promise to his late grandmother. And thus he graduated on time with a degree from the University of Michigan, which is one of the greatest schools, without me even being an alum myself, one of the greatest schools to have a degree from. And Juwan once again returns to Ann Arbor to coach the Michigan basketball squad moving forward, at least for the next 5 years, making $2 million annually over the course of those next 5 years. And earlier this week, a question posed by Brad Galley of Channel 7, and he had asked Juwan about, after the 5 years are up for him as part of his current contract, whether or not he would pursue a coaching job in the NBA. And he said that coaching Michigan is a bigger priority, in so many words, by saying to Brad Galley that he would love for his contract to be extended by Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel at the end of those 5 years. Thus, it speaks volumes to me about what this job means to him. And he also made known to the masses that he wouldn't have left the NBA coaching ranks, would not have taken any other college coaching job out there. Only job he was willing to take at the college level was this Michigan job. And now there are questions aplenty about what schemes he will implement. Is he an X's and O's coach? Will he be able to prove himself as such in year number 1 on the job? And, can he go up against the best coaches in the collegiate ranks, such as one who is his crosstown rival, coaching his crosstown rival, and Tom Izzo at Michigan State? Can he go up against those guys such as Izzo, the big boys, as you could refer to them as? And fellow coaches in the Big Ten and match them pound for pound when it comes to the X's and O's? Well, the apparent answer right now is no. He's not going to outcoach the likes of Tom Izzo right off the bat and may never be a great X's and O's coach. But Michigan hired him for other reasons as well. And one of the biggest reasons is to recruit, and to recruit Chicago well. And Chicago is where he is from, where he grew up. And because of that, I think the Michigan faithful and A.D. Ward Manuel in hiring him believes that he will have this recruiting pipeline to Chicago, where you have a hotbed of hoops recruits. So the hope for the Michigan faithful, for the University of Michigan and the basketball program, is for Juwan Howard to recruit these 4- and 5-star guys that John Beilein once missed out on. Juwan Howard now isn't probably going to ever match, once again, the X's and O's expertise of John Beilein, the winningest coach in U of M hoops history. But the hope is, once again, that he can land a couple of those guys that John Beilein was never able to pull in. And, I talked about it previously. Is Juwan Howard a home run hire? No. But is he the best coach at this point in time, in May, that U of M could have pulled in? Yes. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that even though U of M hoops has been more successful than U of M football over the last decade, U of M football still is number one because of its cachet. It has the rich tradition, and thus it's still viewed as being the top dog over U of M hoops. And that's why U of M hoops couldn't pull in the Jim Harbaugh-esque guy. No matter what you think about Jim Harbaugh and the impact that he's had through 4 years on the sidelines at Michigan, he still was candidate number one when they pulled him in. Okay, and when he became the head man officially in 2015. You can't say that about Juwan Howard. Now, a good fallback, third, fourth option, because it is his alma mater. He was part of the Fab Five, but he wasn't option number one for U of M hoops. It would have been a guy such as Jay Wright, Brad Stevens, Billy Donovan. Those were the top dogs, the top tier candidates. Juwan Howard, maybe candidate number 4 after those 3 guys. So U of M hoops did not pull in the top candidate that the U of M faithful would have loved to have pulled in. Yet, this is still a solid hire and not the worst hire in the world imaginable. He is a guy, once again, that can work with the recruits. I think cares enough about the job, and it was showcased with him crying before he even spoke a word at his introductory press conference in Ann Arbor. And I think it showcased to me that because he cares so much about this job, guys, that he will be a solid coach and be a guy that I know, trust me right now, can continue leading this Michigan program in the right direction, lead them to multiple NCAA tournament appearances. It's just how far will he lead the Michigan hoops program in the big dance over the next 5 years. It might not be to the level that John Beilein led the program to, which once again was multiple national title game appearances. But I think you still, at the end of the day, after the 5 years, will be and will have to be happy with the production of Juwan Howard as a Michigan head man. And with that being said, I want to transition to a big topic. And it's a big topic to me because of my love for the game of baseball. As you guys should know, I do my Tigers Talk podcast on a weekly basis. I co-host that with John McElroon. And we discuss, not just Tigers topics, but some Major League Baseball news and notes. And one of the latest and biggest topics of date is the netting in baseball. And it's become an even bigger topic this week because of the fact that we saw Albert Elmora Jr. of the Chicago Cubs hit a little girl in the stands at Minute Maid Park in Houston on Wednesday night. The 4-year-old took a line drive during the 4th inning, causing the entire stadium to fall silent. And it just brings up an issue with the netting. The netting down the foul lines, that blocks the fans in the front row for the majority of the foul line, up and down the right field line and the left field line. And Major League Baseball currently has it set up where the netting stretches to at least the far end of each dugout, both the road and home team dugouts. And this is once again at each 30 of its team's respective ballparks. And the netting aims to protect fans and field level seats from low-flying foul balls and broken bats. And all 30 Major League teams, with that being said, have extended the protective netting around home plate. And they did so officially before the start of the 2018 campaign. But it does not cover the entirety of the lower bowl of each ballpark. And the MLBPA, that is the Major League Baseball Players Association, proposed in both the 2007 and 2012 collective bargaining agreements the mandatory netting extend from foul pole to foul pole, as it does in Japan. But ultimately, that didn't pass with all teams, as each team has in its own discretion how far it wants to extend its stadium's netting. And because of that, currently not every single team has the netting extended as far as the other. And this brings up a large-scale issue throughout Major League Baseball when it comes to the safety of fans from ballpark to ballpark. And honestly, I don't believe the fans are safe enough when it comes to the foul balls and the foul balls entering the stands. And once again, the lower bowl and the first row of these respective ballparks on each side, on the side of the home dugout as well as on the side of the road dugout. The netting at Comerica Park, for starters, extends past the end of each dugout and at a height of 30 feet. But there are managers, pundits as well out there that have said the netting should extend even further. And I am one of those fans and pundits of the game of baseball, guys, that believes the netting should extend further from foul pole to foul pole. And that's because fan safety should be of the highest priority to these Major League Baseball clubs. You do not want to see these young fans and fans of any age get hit by line drives coming at these fans at 100 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour plus, as these line drives are coming in, yes, at those rapid speeds where you have no time to react, regardless of the fact of whether or not you're on your mobile device or distracted or not. You don't have to be distracted to not see a ball coming at you when it's hit that hard at you into the stands. So that is why I am the mindset, guys, that there needs to be more safety at these games, thus more netting, and the netting extended from foul pole to foul pole. And one of the managers in Big League Baseball that is of this same mindset is the Tigers skipper, Ron Gardenhire. And he has said that I think it, as in the netting, should go all the way down each line. I've seen too many balls hooked and sliced, and people have no chance when it goes into the crowd. They're going to get hit. The ones that go up high, sure, they're going to have a chance to catch those. But those line drives that are hit, the balls are hit so hard nowadays, I think the scene was terrible. It's one of the most terrible feelings in baseball. I've seen so many people hit in this game above both dugouts when we didn't have it. It's been this way for a long time. And you know what? I get it. I cringe every time I see one hit like that and there's no netting. It's terrible. So I just think it should be all the way down the line because the balls are being hit so hard nowadays. And then he brings up the point that the players are bigger, stronger, and faster than they used to be. The pitchers are throwing it at harder, faster velocities than they used to as well. And subsequently, the balls are being hit harder. So these fans have no time to react subsequently. And Ron Gardenhire has seen it up close and personal himself, being a third base coach for the Minnesota Twins back in the day before he took over as the skipper of the Minnesota Twins. So there is a voice right there in Major League Baseball that is respected that has called for more netting. And I am calling for it today, this week on Two Bad Hombres myself, for more netting and for this to be a policy implemented from Major League Baseball ballpark to Major League Baseball ballpark. Because, once again, fan safety should be at the highest priority for Major League Baseball. Forget the issue or fans bringing up the fact that, hey, I can't get now these foul balls that I used to be able to get. Forget about that, okay? There are a lot of ways for you to get balls from major leaguers, to get balls signed by major leaguers. So don't worry about that. Worry about the safety of you and perhaps your kids, if you have kids, and how these kids, and everybody there, right? They are innocent victims of these foul balls being hit at them at rapid speeds. And you should want to protect your kids, want to protect yourselves. And when there isn't the netting from foul pole to foul pole, then you and your kids, you and your relatives and loved ones aren't being protected to the fullest degree. And every single fan at every single ballpark should be protected at the fullest degree. And once again, that is why I am calling for, on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres, more netting. For the netting to specifically be extended from foul pole to foul pole. And that is my rant about Major League Baseball for this week. But it's a big issue. And it's a bigger topic than what you think about Juwan Howard and him being the right man for Michigan hoops. This is an issue that could affect one's life. Thus, it is a life or death issue. It really is, guys. So get your mind wrapped around that. And once again, forget about the fact that maybe you won't be able to receive the foul balls that you used to. And from that, I go to another topic that really gets me heated up. And it's something I saw that went viral on Twitter that actually John Macaroon sent me a DM about earlier this week. And it was this weatherman doing his forecast. And as he was doing the forecast, guys, he actually had a cut into the Bachelorette coverage on his TV station. And this comes from on Twitter at Jamie Fox 45 now, and this weatherman's name is Jamie Simpson, who does work for Fox 45 now in Dayton, Ohio. And once again, was doing this forecast for the viewers out of Dayton, Ohio, when he snapped at viewers who were complaining on social media to him that he has cut into their Bachelorette viewing. Well, guess what? He cut into your viewing, guys, because of an emergency tornado warning. He was keeping you alert of a warning that was striking a good percentage of your viewing area. So he said then, open quotes, "I'm done with you people. I really am. This is pathetic," closed quotes. So he had it up to the highest level with the viewers who were complaining to him on Twitter. His Twitter handle, once again, is at Jamie Fox 45 now, and it's at Jamie Fox FOX 45 now, not to be confused with the talented actor and musical artist Jamie Foxx with the two X's at the end of his last name. But anyways, I believe this fella had the right to snap at his viewers because guess what? At the end of the day, he is looking out for your best interests, for the safety of you and perhaps your loved ones by breaking into your coverage of The Bachelorette with this forecast about tornado. So he had all the right in the world to get worked up about this. And for a station to break into your viewing of the latest episode of The Bachelorette this past Monday, which is not even close to as important as a tornado that is striking your area or at least your nearby area. And once again, striking then perhaps friends of yours, family members of yours. And don't you want them to be protected at all costs, at all times? And all this weatherman was trying to do was trying to ensure that you were protected and that you knew about this tornado that was coming and was going to hit your immediate area in Dayton, Ohio, or in a surrounding area of Dayton, Ohio. So once again, I believe when people have this public outcry and get up in arms and express dismay on Twitter about stuff such as this is when people are being stupid. No doubt in my mind they are being stupid. And get your minds wrapped around the fact that there are more important things in life than The Bachelorette. And then finding out about who The Bachelorette is into in that given week, on that given episode. there are more things important that are much more important that could be considered, really are considered life or death. And something that could dictate whether or not you live is whether or not you know about a tornado that is hitting your immediate area and surrounding areas once again. So I think I would have reacted in the same manner in this situation, guys. A couple of other things I want to bring up here. Piggybacking to my conversation about Juwan Howard being hired as the next U of M basketball head man, he might be hiring Phil Martelli, formerly of St. Joe's, to be his assistant coach at Michigan. Now, that would be a home run hire, and I would imagine Phil Martelli would become his top assistant head coach. This is a man that went to multiple big dances at St. Joe's, that actually had his team ranked number one. Yes, even at St. Joe's, as part of the AP rankings back during the 03-04 season when he had Jameer Nelson and Delonte West, two future NBA players in his backcourt. So he is a guy that did more with less, or where less was more for him, where he didn't always bring in the top recruits, but continued to win consistently throughout his tenure at St. Joe's, pretty much until the bitter end. Had a rough final 3 seasons, you could say, but from 95-96 until 2018-2019, he was pretty much a consistent winner. Once again, went to multiple big dances, and went to be more precise, 7 NCAA tournaments, and was a regular season champion in 2 other seasons as well, and that was in the Atlantic 10, which wasn't always, a slouch conference. Could be and has been a good basketball conference at times too. So it's not like he always had inferior competition that he was going up against at St. Joe's as part of the A10 conference. But once again, he fell in some hard times his final 3 campaigns at St. Joe's, where he went 11-20, 16-16, and then finally 14-19. But became a St. Joe's legend over all his time there at St. Joe's, a guy that was a legendary figure in Philadelphia, where St. Joe's is located. And a lot of people felt that he got a raw job, that St. Joe's did him dirty by getting rid of him after all of his time with the Hawks of St. Joe's. And once again, I think he would be a home run hire to start off Juwan Howard's coaching staff at Michigan. And another note that takes me away from sports to Donald Trump, and kind of touching upon my birthday weekend is coming up next week, and so we'll talk a little bit about that on next week's episode of Two Bad Hombres and about what I'm doing for my birthday weekend. And as of right now, I will be going to the Tigers game on a Friday night against the Minnesota Twins, so that should be fun for me. Might result in an L for the Tigers, but as of this recording on Saturday, the day in which this podcast is dropping, the Tigers have gone on a 3-game winning streak, and my man Nico Goodrum is no longer suffering from the Vito Churko jinx, from the jinx I put on him when I met him at DC Sports now a while back, as he went 5 for 5. He went 5 for 5, yes, in his homecoming in his native Georgia. And he had 2 home runs, and he keyed the Tigers' offense in an 8-2 victory over the Atlanta Braves with a bunch of his family and friends at the game Friday night. So that was that, and I bring up my birthday weekend, and I'm glad to say that Donald Trump is not going to be announcing his re-election campaign officially on the weekend of my birthday, as he's declaring his re-election bid on June 18th. So luckily, a week and a couple of days after my birthday on June 9th. So that is that, and best of luck to Donald J. Trump with that re-election campaign. And I think you guys know what I think about the man that claims the White House as his home currently. And with that being said, I will end my diatribe on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. It has been a pleasure speaking to you by my lonesome, and I will be back with the Doc from Doc and Jock from Tigers Talk, from Two Bad Hombres as well, the Motor City Sports Rant. He wears so many hats at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, which you can follow online at DetroitSportsPodcast.com, on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. You can follow me yours truly at Vito Jerome on Twitter. And follow our sponsor, the sponsor of this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. That is Detroit City Sports on Twitter at DC Sports Detroit. And make sure to also check out their fine website at DetroitCitySports.com. Adios, guys.